News Talk KDAL. Now back to Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa.
Everybody, I'm Steve Solkala, and this is Maamme, the Finnish national anthem. Oi maamme Suomi synnyin mä, sai sana kultainen. Heiltaksa ei kukkulha, ei vettä rantaa rakkaampaa, kuin kotimaat häpojoinen, makalisi siihen. Heiltaksa ei kukkulha, ei vettä rantaa rakkaampaa, kuin kotimaat häpojoinen, makalisi siihen.
You're listening to Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa. This is the greatest performances that would have been on the show. When Belle Modine came in to perform, now Belle is very well known for singing the national anthem around the area, and so we had Belle sing the national anthem for us.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, she did such a good job on Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa that we asked her to sing a song for us, and it turns out she wrote an original tune that she performed on the show. This is Belle Modine. You're listening to Stars Over the Prairie, Greatest Performances with Paul Metsa on 610 KDAL.
Down the hall, stares and laughter from the mall. She doesn't hear. Her tears are falling from her face. How did she fall from grace? And why is she hated? With their sharp tongues, racy stares, leaving scars on hearts like they don't care. Ooh. But she's gonna rise like a wildflower under the rain. She's gonna pick up herself every day. She stands tall and is proud of who she is, and look at me now. Yesterday, hated her face. Tomorrow she'll be in a better place. Ooh. The hate is how it started. Crying to your friends while you were outed. Now you're wondering why. 'Cause mean girls girls with their sharp tongues or icy stares, leaving scars on hearts like they don't care. Ooh, but she's gonna rise like a wildflower under the rain. She's gonna pick up herself every day. She stands tall and is proud of who she is, and look at me now. She'll soon be where she wants to be, skylines in Music City. Tomorrow you'll be in a bar, your face on the ground while she's a star. And you know the song because mean girls with their sharp tongues or icy stares, leaving scars on hearts like they don't care. Ooh. But she's gonna rise like a wildflower under the rain. She's gonna pick up herself every day. She stands tall and is proud who she is, and look at her now.
You're listening to Stars Over the Prairie, greatest performances. In the first 3 months, we've had some really great singers come in. One of the great singers is Colleen Myrie. She came in and performed 3 songs. This was the first song she did on Stars Over the Prairie on 610 KDAL.
Yeah, I'm walking down past the street post, past the crowd, nowhere near making miles, looking for my baby child. Whoa, slip away, off my porch step, gone today. Oh, slip away. I paid the price of love today. Scrambled eggs, black charades, blanket laid out in the shade, muscle cars, handlebars, his funky smoke from his cigar. Whoa, slip away, off my doorstep, gone today. Oh, slip away. I paid the price of love today. Hammer sweat, pure winds, things I cannot soon forget. Slacker eyes, tightened thighs. His morning kiss was his slip away, slip away off my doorstep, gone today. Oh, oh, slip away, slip away. I paid the price, of love today. Walking down past the street post, past the crowd, now and here, making miles. I just lost my baby child. Whoa. Whoa, whoa,
whoa. We had Josie come in, and Josie had a different kind of sound. We've had some great female singers on the show, and Josie turned out to be one of them. Now, I've worked with her before. She's played with Bo Allen in the area and some other musicians, not to mention doing bandoki around the area. But she came in and sang some tunes that were really cool. This is Josie, Stars Over the Prairie, 610 KDAL.
Loaded like a shotgun, we take our aim. So many targets around us, willing to take the blame. But they don't know what we're aiming for. It only takes one spark to start a nuclear war. The belly of the beast, she feasts on our fear. The slightest noise, she wakes. Your footsteps, she overhears. There's nowhere left to run. The belly of the beast traps everyone. It took it like a man, and the exile it rang through, echoing down from the cold-hearted moon. And didn't she speak to me ever so kindly? Tiptoe to the exit, but she won't let us leave. The belly of the beast, she feasts on our fear. The slightest noise, she wakes. Your footsteps, she overhears. There's nowhere left to run. The belly of the beast traps everyone. Should be alarmed. She stands there unarmed. She's already picked you out a spot at the graveyard. Get down on your knees and talk to your priest, or pray to the heavens that your soul be released. The devil leaves a card and you lay there unharmed, quickly chased out of 6 feet by sick grinning guard. No one will know if we will ever be free. For now we'll survive by instinct in the belly of the beast. The belly of the beast, she feasts on our fear. The slightest noise, she wakes. Your footsteps, she overhears. There's nowhere left to run. The belly of the beast traps everyone. Everyone, everyone,
one of the bands that not only were everybody looking forward to hearing, but I was particularly looking forward to hearing. Whiskey River, I grew up with, one of the bigger bands in the area, and we were able to get them on the show. So they said they had a Christmas song to play for us. So this is Whiskey River on Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa.
Well, I know you're so much more than lonely. The tears remind you only of the life you live alone. But although I leave you for the highway, the song I sing is my way, wishing I was home. In your eyes, you may see a foolish dreamer, another senseless schemer, not knowing much for sure. But I know there is one thing for certain, things behind the curtain, they will never be as pure as your love. Outside tonight, there is a wicked wind, bearing upon it my name. In between the thunder, I cannot help but wonder why I'd leave my rainbow in the rain. Someday, the dreams that now command me will come to understand me. They will warm this heart gone cold. And I may know when it comes to fame and glory, it ain't so much a story as the way that it gets told.
Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa. That's Whiskey River. They were one of our last few guests very recently, but we've had some great guests over the past 3 months that came in and sang on the show. So we're going to feature some of them here. This is a second tune that Al Sparhawk did when he was in on Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa on 610 KDAL.
So I took my guitar and I threw down some chords and some words I could sing without shame. And I soon had a song. I played it around for some friends, but they all said the same. They said music's for fools, you should go back to school. The future is prisons and math. my children are fed, 'cause they pay me to do what I'm asked. I forgot all my songs, the words now were wrong, and I burned my guitar in a rage. But the fire came to rest in your white velvet breast, so somehow I just know that it's safe.
Brianne Marie of Brianne Marie and the Front Porch Sinners came on our show one week and shared a song with us.
I'm going to do a song called Carried Me Through. I wrote this. It was one of those lightning songs, you know, when you have the idea and you just sit down in 5 minutes, it's done. Mm-hmm. I watched a documentary about Dolly Parton and her whole history of music. It was on Netflix. I had COVID. I was trapped in quarantine to a corner of my house, couldn't be around my family. And then I walked over to my guitar in our rehearsal space and I just wrote this song.
All right. And this is called?
Carried Me Through. There we go. When I was little, I sat in the dark in an old living room with my mom. The glow of the streetlight came in from outside, and the sounds of the sweet radio played on. And it lifted my heart and it carried me through moments so dark, things I couldn't tell you. Listening then, I always knew that I'd write my own songs and I'd share them with you. I've been to the rhyme and I've heard Dolly sing. Cried when old Willie played trigger for me. When Randy came out, he told me so. I knew I would follow my heart show to show. And it lifted my heart and it carried me through moments so dark, things I couldn't tell. Listening then, I always knew that I'd write my own songs and I'd share them with you. Ooh. After my dad died, I picked up guitar, played old country songs alone in my room. Something changed when we lost Tim. Started to write what I felt from within, and it lifted my heart and it carried me through moments so dark, things I couldn't tell you. Singing back then, I always knew I'd write my own songs and I'd share them with you. Now I write my own songs and I share them with you.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Brianne. That was really beautiful. That guitar sounds great, too.
Thank you. Yeah.
And your favorite singer is?
Oh, gosh. Dolly Parton is my absolute favorite singer, but I did weave into there a couple of other favorites. Randy Travis, Willie Nelson, but yeah.
We're back to Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa on 610 KDAL.
I want to give you some props. Laura. Laura is a violinist and educator. She's been studying and performing Arabic music for decades, taught by esteemed artists Simon Shaheen, Bassam Saba, Dr. A.J. Racy, and more. She performs with the National Arab Orchestra in Detroit and locally with Amouage, and has been awarded grants from the Minnesota State Arts Board and the Metropolitan Regional Arts Council. And in the fiscal year 2023 was a recipient of a Creative Support for Individuals grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board. And other than being one of the greatest harmonica players and coolest cats around, Tim O'Keefe is also, and has been for years, a full-time musician, multi-instrumentalist, and percussionist who has been performing and teaching for over 40 years. Tim, you don't look that old.
I know, it's amazing, too.
Well, it's so happy to have you here. He plays drums and melodic instruments from many cultures. He's had the great fortune of performing and studying with renowned artists like Simone Shaheen, Sawan Parar, Shakir Hattar, and pardon me for mispronouncing all those names.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Let's do this. I'm so glad, and we're going to talk. Tim O'Keefe spent some serious time here in the Twin Ports, being raised in Superior, and spent some time in Duluth. We're going to talk a little bit about his background, but seeing as how you guys brought all your instruments, let's hear a song.
We're going to play a beautiful tune. So now we're going to play a piece that's called a samai. And that's a form, and the rhythm of the samai is in 10-8. So, and everybody clap along at home. And so I'm playing the rik, which is the instrument of the percussion instrument of classical Arabic music.
Let's hear a little bit.
And the rhythms are based on two pitches, dum and tek. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the accents of the rhythm. And then there's lots of stuff filled in. And so we're going to play this beautiful, beautiful piece. We're going to play a part of the piece.
And it's a Samai Nahawand by Ruhi Al-Hamesh.
Nahawand is the mode.
Who is a composer from Nablus. So he's a
Yeah.
Palestinian composer composing classical Arabic music.
Yeah.
I think we're breaking some new ground here on Stars Over the Prairie. I don't know.
You're used to hearing on the show.
Downtown Duluth, Minnesota, Xena City by the Unsalted Sea. That was Tim O'Keefe and Laura Harada.
Colleen Myrie really is a great musician, great singer, and great songwriter. And she did a couple of songs when she was on our show. And this was the second song that she turned in on Stars Over the Prairie on 610 KDAL.
Oh, come on, Colleen.
Harvey's got a gambling problem, you see. He don't like to lose. Slips into town with his poker face. And he brings his own bottle of booze. He brings his own bottle of booze. And his liquor breath, too. Snakes his way up to a table underneath the basement lights where masterly polished old bluff seekers who can recognize their own kind, who can recognize their own kind, waiting for Harvey to strike. Yeah. Undisturbed, find his belly likes to chastise the enemy by glaring across that poker table. Pair of deuces is all he needs. Pair of deuces is all he needs as he reaches for the money. Yeah. Don't look him in the eye, 'cause he can read your mind. Beautiful house with a four of a kind. You slide him a nickel and make you want a dime. Come to Papa just to beat the line. Is it the perfect love for flawless cheating that makes Harvey's playing ideal? You see, gets ousted out of town, they figure he cheats. They reckon that he also steals. They figure that he cheats and he steals. Oh, but Harvey's playing for real. Yeah. Don't look him in the eye. He gets you every time. Oh, Harvey, why you always coming in here with that booze breath? You think you're bluffing us? You're not bluffing us, Harvey. We know you're cheating, Harvey. Harvey's got a gambling problem. You see, he don't like to lose.
That's Colleen Myrie on Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa. I'm Chris Allen. I'm the producer of the show, and I'm lucky. I just get to sit back and watch great musicians come in, and sometimes we have a little bit of fun. We had some fun with the Divas when they came in and sang Diva Las Vegas on Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa.
Diva Las Vegas, Diva Las Vegas, Diva, Diva Las Vegas.
They also did a parody of Bob Dylan, and this was the other song that they turned in on Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa.
How many roads must a man drive down before he admits he is lost? And why, when a man becomes married, is he unable to find his own socks?
How many times will it take till he knows he's seen the Three Stooges enough? The answer, my friend, I cannot comprehend. The answer I cannot comprehend. How many shows can a man serve through before the remote burns out? Why does he think that an intimate gift is a dustbuster plus for the house? How many sounds can a man's body make before he sleeps on the couch? The answer, my friend, is take 2 aspirin. The answer is take 2 aspirin. Why, when we go for a romantic drive, do we end up at Menards once again? How many nights will he leave the seat up so I land on cold porcelain? How men really feel is a mystery to me, and probably a mystery to them. The answer, girlfriend, is driving me to gin. The answer is driving me to gin. Man bashing at its best.
Oh, I think you are on the start of a great record.
We've got a record of singing that in a lot of places.
Oh, my God. That is so incredible.
That's the Divas on Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa. We do have another song from them coming up a little bit later, but one of the great songwriters, performers, and singers in the area is Shane Nelson, and we were able to get him on the show, and he sang a song that he had just written not too long before he came on the show, and he even vamped a little bit while he was here. You'll hear him kind of ad-lib a little at the end. This is Shane Nelson on Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa.
These are among my favorite people. Well, these are among my favorite people. Well, who are the ones that you can run to when the world unravels at your feet? Pick you up when you fall down, when the world's spinning round, round. I repeat, these are among my favorite people. Well, these are among my favorite people. Who will say you don't have to be strong all the time? Leave your worries there at my doorstep. Rest your weary head on my shoulder. Carry on tomorrow, my soldier. These are among my favorite people. These are among my favorite people. Well, when there's chaos and riots in the street, I say, do you feel safe inside your skin? Leaving our love and let evil win. The heart is where love starts to begin, to burn that fire with your desire to sing the chorus of peace and prosperity. These are among my favorite people. These are among my favorite people. Who will say you don't have to be strong all the time? Leave your worries there at my doorstep. Rest your weary head on my shoulder. Carry on tomorrow, my soldier. These are among my favorite people. These are among my favorite people. When there's chaos and riots in the street, I say, do you feel safe inside your skin? Leaving out love and let evil win. The heart is where love starts to begin, to burn that fire with your desire to sing the chorus of peace and prosperity. These are among my favorite people. And Paul, you're among my favorite people.
Thank you, Shane. I'm digging the tune.
And Chris Allen's among my favorite people, hanging out in the studio with some of my good friends. But these are among my favorite people. And even the cameraman, I don't remember his name. I'll get to know it soon. And then he will become one of my favorite people.
Stars,
stars
over the prairie, KL Radio.
You're listening to Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa. This is Ash.
From the big city, I come from the land of the tars, from sweet iced tea and maple syrup, sitting round the campfire for hours. I'm from the pages of the yellowing books, their stories live on. My ancestors sisters' faces, never truly gone. I'm from scrawled names and dates stuck in the past, trying so desperately to make themselves last. These are the places I come from. I come from.
This is Unabridged on Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa on KDAL 610 AM.
You say that you need another night alone. Every time I call you for a date, well, I've known for some time now about your playing round, and I know this is more than I should take, 'cause when I hold you tight, time after time, and kiss you goodnight, I'm not on your mind. So please tell me why, when I do you right, you do me all wrong. There's more to loving someone than words can ever say. 'Cause when I'm telling you I love you, you just don't hear me. To you it's a game, and the rules are made up while you play. Well, I can't take any more. Guess it's time that I should leave. 'Cause when I hold you tight, time after time, and kiss you goodnight, I'm not on your mind. Please tell me why, when I do you right, you do me all wrong. I let you walk all over me, hoping that you just might see you had a good thing as plain as day. I gave you enough chances, now I'm walking away. 'Cause I hold you tight, time after time, and kiss you goodnight. I'm not on your mind. Please tell me why, when I do you right, you do me all wrong. Please tell me why, when I do you right, you do me all wrong.
Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa. It is Chris Allen, the producer of the show, playing you some of the greatest performances that we've had over the first 3 months of the show. Well, one week we had a guy named John Edwards come in. He was a younger guy, and Paul had seen him playing out and wanted him to come in on the show. So we had him come in, and he played 2 songs for us. This was the first song that he played on Stars Over the Prairie on 610 KDAL with Paul Metsa.
got home, his mama was dead and gone. Oh, you know, when he got home, his mama was dead and gone. She cried all night for her. Police caught up with Reuben, took his watch and chain. Police caught up with Reuben and they took his watch and chain. It was all he had left. They put Reuben in the jailhouse now. Nobody ever seen him again. Reuben in the jailhouse now. Nobody ever saw him again. Lord, oh Lord, Reuben never gonna come home again.
Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa.
You're listening to Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa. The phone lines are open. 218-722-0839.
Right now, we're showcasing some of the performances that we had on our show.
KDAL 610 AM 103.9 FM. We are continuing our conversation with my friend Tony Andreessen, one of the founders from the band The Trashmen. Tony, tell us how The Trashmen started and who came up with the name.
Well, you know, it's interesting because back then everybody's looking for a name that kind of sticks, and we had tried different names before, and of course people would come and go. You know, bands. There are two types of bands, you know that too, and that is bands that are broken up and bands that are going to break up. So we went through that, but you know, it came down to where there were four of us. There were four of us that really kind of stayed together. And we were playing different record hops, you know, and with different names. And we were at Don Woody's house. He was our bass player at the time, and we were looking for a name. And there was a 45 record called The Trashman's Blues that was written and recorded by one of the local pickers around here, Tony Kyrie. And he was a great musician himself and a really good songwriter. And Steve, our drummer, just said, we should call ourselves the Trashmen. Wouldn't that be something? And we all laughed. But that next Saturday, we were playing a dance over in Brooklyn Center, and Steve showed up with the Trashmen painted on the drum head, and it stuck.
There you go.
That's how that happened.
So what year, first I've got to ask you, what were some of the other names you went through before you settled on the Trashmen?
Well, we had Jim Thaxter and the Travelers. I think there was the Ultraphonics, the String Kings, you know. And but the Trashmen stuck. And Jim, when we were playing with Jim Thaxter and the Travelers, we had Dal Winslow was playing guitar, which he ended up being one of the original Trashmen. Steve Orr was playing drums. He ended up being one of the Trashmen. And anyway, something happened where Jim didn't like a lead I played on some song or something, and one of those things, artistic differences,
Oh, right.
And so I was out of the band, and I told the rest of the guys, well, I guess I'm out of the band. And so they said, well, then we're out of the band. So they left, and that's how the Trashmen were formed. And Don was playing bass, but then his brother was playing, I think it was guitar for a group called the Star Tones. And he thought that they had a chance of doing something nationally. Anyway, he left the Trashmen and went with Startones. So we were looking for a bass player, and there was a guy from Oaks, North Dakota that had come into town that was looking to play gigs, and he was going to Brown Institute to be a radio announcer. And he started playing gigs with us to make money to go through Brown, and I was playing gigs to make money to go through the University of Minnesota. And Dal was a banker working for Camden Northwest Bank. And anyway, we played a gig with Bill Deal. You remember Bill Deal, the disc jockey. He was the Wizard of the Wax, the Deacon of the Disc, back then. I mean, he was the guy. And
he had a really long career in the Twin Cities.
Oh, he sure did. WDGY, Wonderful Ouija, and then he went with WCCO. And stayed in touch with him kind of over the years. He was a great guy and did a lot for our career. And anyway, we were doing a dance with him, and I think it was a battle of the bands. And we were in the back room, and we had heard a group the week before up at a place called Woodley's Country Dam in Amory, Wisconsin, and they were from California. They were called the Sorensen Brothers, and they did this Papa Ooh Mau Mau that we had never heard before.
Right.
But it was straight, Mm-hmm. And but we were a surf band, and Steve, for some reason, just couldn't get this out of his head. He had an earworm, I think.
Yeah. And
it just kept going through his head. And we were in the green room at this place. It was on Eagle Lake, and we were just kind of fooling around in the back room, and Steve couldn't get this out of his head, and he started singing this thing with his voice, and we started laughing. And we had a guitar back there, and we hit an E chord, and he started doing this like Papa Ooh Mau Mau that we had heard with this crazy voice. And so we were a surf band, and that's why we did name it eventually, Surfin' Bird. But we didn't know what we were going to do with the song, but it was so crazy, he said, let's do it. We've never rehearsed it or anything, just 3 chords, and I'll nod at you, and I want you to go from E to B, because I don't know when that's going to be. And so he started doing this, the Papa Ooh Mau Mau. Everybody's heard about the bird. And we did it, and the crowd went crazy. And Bill Deal said, you got to do it again. And so we did it again, and the crowd was even crazier. So he said, that's a hit if you record it. So we went into a studio on Lake Street, Nickel Lake Records, and can you imagine Surfin' Bird for 3.5 minutes? And he said it was too long, so we ended up going down to K-Bank, and we did it in 2 minutes, 32 seconds, I think it was, something like that. And he heard it, and he said, we've got to put that on the Battle of the Bands on WDGY, and it won.
Wow.
And it went to Chicago, and it won there. And so there was a pressing plant here in town, and George Garrett owned Nickel Lake Records, and he wanted to represent us. We were 20-year-olds, and so we did. And Amos Heilecker owned the pressing plant along with Vern Banks, I think, and they pressed the records, and it started selling, and it made it to number 4 in Billboard, number 2 in Cashbox.
Wow. I have to have you're a lifer musician, even though you got out long enough to get into financial planning. But there was a great story, and I wish I knew exactly who the artist was. But, back then, you were talking about Bill Deal said you got to shorten the song. Back then, you couldn't get a song longer than 3 minutes on the radio. That was unheard of.
That's right.
And so,
yeah, exactly.
I forget who the band was. It was like 3 minutes and 12 seconds long. But when they pressed the record, they put 272.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, I met radio announcers or disc jockeys that were the owner of the station banned the record, and I know one guy that said he played the record and was fired because he played the Bird.
Can we, Chris Allen, Mike? Let's just play a little bit of it now, and listen to it for the people that just tuned in. Surfing Bird by the Trash Bin. We got Tony Andreessen on the line. Let's just listen a little bit.
Well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird, bird, bird. The bird's a word. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Bird is a word. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Well, a bird is a word. Well, a bird, bird, bird. The bird's a word. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Well, a bird is a word. Well, a bird, bird. The bird's a word. Well, a bird, bird, bird. The bird's a word. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Well, a bird is a word.
Yeah, I mean, I was just a kid when I heard it. That was just like 2.5 minutes of madness. What did you think, Tony, when you finally got the final take of that? I imagine there wasn't a lot of mixing back then. You probably mixed on the fly.
Well, we did it all live. We couldn't. And in fact, about a month ago, we went back to K-Bank Studios, and there were a bunch of people over there. It was a get-together with people that had been in bands back in the day that were still alive, and we told people where we did it, where we were in the studio, and we just lined up. We actually, for Surfing Bird, we just sat in a circle and looked at Steve, and he did the same thing and nodded when he was going to change keys, because I don't know how you can just do it the same time each and every time. And that song, when I heard it, I didn't know what to make of it, because we were playing mostly covers. We were doing Jerry Lee Lewis music and Chuck Berry and bands from the time, and it was so different. I think that's why it really was. But I'm still getting, I call it mail money. I still get every quarter. There's usually a check, and 60 plus years later, it's amazing. Who would have ever thought that song would be so alive now? And back in 1999, it made it to number 2 or 3 in the UK again. Believe that. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, the original recording.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with mailbox money, as you know, Tony Andreessen. Now, talk about, when I was setting up the interview, you and I talked about the Ramones covering that song. That must have been a great lit up your day when you heard their version.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, anytime anybody does your music and like it, we thought it was wonderful. I've never had an opportunity to meet them, but I wish I would have, but I never did. And as I told you on the phone, I just did some guitar work for a Japanese girl band called 5678, and in Japanese, and played some leads on it because they were doing trash bin music.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? I mean, to be known in Japan is, how flattering can it be for somebody like me to know that your music was played all over the world.
I have the Ramones version here if you want to hear it.
Yeah, let's
listen. Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely. I thought it was great.
About the bird.
Sounds like they did it the same way. They just nodded when they wanted to change the chords.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Steve Allen was on a radio show that I was on one time, and I just asked him about a version of the Bird that he did on his show. He had the Tonight Show back in the day, and was on every night, and he was a big star. And he did a version of the Bird dressed in a tuxedo. and he was standing in a garbage can, a big, beautiful garbage can, by the way, and he recited all of the words verbatim for the bird, and I asked him about that, and he said they had never seen so much mail before.
You're listening to Stars Over the Prairie, some of our best performances on our show. By the way, you can catch Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa every week from 10 a.m. until noon right here on KDAL. Willow Green came in and brought us some of the new recordings from their album, and we featured them on the show, and they were so good, people wanted to hear them again. So here are some of the songs that we featured on the show, one right after the other. You're listening to Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa, and we're featuring Willow Green.
In Bainbridge town, in the county down, one morning last July, from a Bowring Green came a sweet Colleen, and she smiled as she passed me by. She looked so sweet, from her 2 bare feet to the crown of her nut brown hair. Such a coaxing elf, sure I shook myself, for to see I was really there. From Bantry Bay to the Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town, No maid I've seen like the brown colleen that I met in the county down. As she onward sped, sure I shook my head, and I looked with a feeling red. And I says I, to a passer-by, who's the maid with the nut brown hair? He smiled at me, and he says he, that's the gem of Ireland's crown. Young Rose McCann, from the banks of the Bann, she's the star of the county down. From Bantry Bay to the Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town. No maid I've seen like the brown colleen, she's the star of the county down. Crossroads fair, surely she'll be there. I'll dress in my Sunday clothes, with my shoes shone bright, my hat cocked right, for a smile from that nut brown rose. No pipe I'll smoke, no horse I'll yoke, though my plough turns a rust-colored brown. Until smiling bright, by my own firelight, sits the star of the county down. From Bantry Bay to the Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town. No maid I've seen like the brown colleen, she's the star of the county down. From Bantry Bay to the Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town. No maid I've seen like the brown colleen, she's the star of the county down.
It's Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa, and we're featuring some of the new music from Willow Green.
An island in the sunrise, and laughter in the rain, and whiskey in the darkness. It all feels just the same. Watch the sunset over Hamish, see the twilight merge to dawn, hear the waves caress the shoreline as the island carries on. I've been walking its shores all my days, but with you by my side, I am walking on the waves. I've been walking walking on the waves. And there's two lovers on the marker, and they walk down to the sand. Their silhouettes are on the water as they paddle hand in hand. And it's a game of sweet surrender when there's nothing left to say. But there are moments to remember when these days are long away. I've been walking these shores all my days, but with you by my side, I am walking on the way. I've been walking these shores all my days, but with you by my side, I am walking on the waves. So you look out on the ocean, see the headlands and the strands, and you wonder what horizon will shape tomorrow's plans. And through the turning of the seasons and the cycle of the days, every dream's another reason to let tomorrow sail away. I've been walking these shores all my days, but with you by my side, I am walking on the waves. I've been walking these shores all my days, but with you by my side, I am walking on the waves. I've been walking these shores all my days, but with you by my side, I am walking on the waves. I am walking these shores all my days, but with you by my side, I am walking on the waves. But with you by my side, I am walking on the waves.
You're listening to Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa. I'm Chris Allen, the producer of the show. When Paul Metsa went down to play the Bob Dylan thing down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, he was able to get Elvis Costello to stop by and talk with him for a few minutes. Here is that interview.
I'm with Elvis Costello and Shelter from the Storm in Tulsa. Let's talk a little bit about Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah. Home of Bob Wilson and the Texas Playboys.
J.J. Cale, Leon Russell.
Well, I was playing a little Leon Russell in the middle of Baby Blue there.
Yeah. I'm going to actually do a little session at your studio on Sunday. Just because I'm down.
Oh, I wish we could. No, we got to go back to New York tomorrow. But,
let's talk a little bit about first time you heard Dylan, what Dylan means to you, and who do you think that guy is? What does he represent?
Nobody knows that, and that's a good thing. Strangely enough, it was like a neighbor who brought... My father was a singer on the radio.
Yeah, right.
And this neighbor of ours had a brother who was very, passionate about social matters. And when Bob's first couple of records came out with these songs, that were in that moment in the early 60s, I was pretty young. I was only like 10 or 11. I'm talking about 63, 64. I was born in 54, so, I was 10. What's your perspective on that was, but those records, like Times They Were Changing, it was a hit record in England on the radio. Mixed in with the Beatles and Jerry and the Pacemakers. And of course it stood out. And then the electric records were big pop hits, So I knew the music just mixed up with all the other great stuff.
Right.
Like I knew that it wasn't, I didn't know where it was from. I didn't know who those people were playing on that. I knew it didn't sound the same as like the Four Tops and things like that, but I loved, you know. We were lucky because we had all this music just come in was like secret messages from very far away, which is like something that I think in America by the 60s you had a lot more media than we did. We just had like one or two radio stations. So anytime you heard a song, you'd wait to hear it again.
Right.
You know, there wasn't that many times that you could hear it. It made it really go in deep. And then, of course, later on, start to listen to the albums and then you see the incredible writing. I started to play the guitar myself, and then, well, I could never be like this guy. I'd be like something else, you know. And,
but that's the way we heard your records coming over in the 70s.
Yeah.
When was the last time did you see any of the Rough and Rowdy Ways tour?
I saw a couple of really exceptional shows up in Toronto. The second one, which was one of the best times I've ever seen Bob perform. It was so vivid. Every line was just vivid, and the fact that it was largely that record. That's a tremendous thing to achieve, because obviously there's all this expectation of the audience that they're in a dream. They want to hear the songs that they know, but in the reality, it's, you know, the nostalgia is in the head of the audience, not the artist. And the artist is going forward. In this case, really, really, you know, emphatically, and I'm always pleased when people kind of this show, because of the way it was set up and the way it was lit and everything, that people really understood that he was going to do that. And the other songs that he played had a sense of playfulness with them. You know, the kind of Nashville Skyline songs that he chose to reinterpret. And I just find it fascinating and a wonderful thing. You know, like I said, I was 10 probably when I heard him first, and I'm 70 now. So that's a long time in my life, and all different times when I've been focused. Not that above every or exclusively, but
you still get the body of a 69-year-old.
yeah, that's true. But the point is, I think that we, you know, we're in a different time than we imagined. If you look on some of the great jazz musicians that we love, they actually died relatively young. They seem to have huge careers, but they didn't live to great old age, and they weren't able to, because of
mostly from complications with diabetes.
Well, the life was so
lifestyle.
bad. The life was so bad for them, you know, so hard. So, by comparison, we have, you know, Bob out there, Paul McCartney, Willie's still out there.
Yeah.
Why not? And Jerry Lee was still singing until a little while.
The number of great artists who are still alive in their 80s now is astonishing.
Astonishing, but that's some of the good things about the future.
We had a lot of people that said they loved the interview and everything. So what I've done is I've included his performance and some of the interview that he did with Paul Metsa. This is Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa. Here's Charlie Parr.
Great. We've got the great Charlie Parr in the studio. His new record out is called Little Sun, 18th record. And then we're going to talk to him about, he told me a great story back at the Ashland Folk Festival, how it's when he's driving from town to town, he likes to stay at truck stops in his van or his car, whatever he's driving, and he occasionally will put his burrito on the engine to heat it up when he's about 45 minutes out of town, depending.
Well, it depends on the weather.
Yeah, it depends on the weather, but not only are we going to get Charlie Parr's musical history and songs, we're also going to get some cooking tips from Chef Charlie Parr.
I can do that, definitely. All right. I can feel my energy getting dimmer. This generator, it won't quite light up the road. My engine only fires on 5 cylinders. Straining to pull up a heavy load. I guess it's always been that way. that's what's needed. Oh, I'm making about 7 on a good day. Everybody gonna have to be patient. I really don't need to come outside anyway. I guess it's always been that way. Oh, my room is situated in the corner. I can see 3 directions from my chair. It's a box canyon apartment in the city. No one can sneak up on me there. It's always gonna be that way. There ain't no need for you to be lonely. I'm just sitting around here all day. Well, you can stop by when you want. Sit down with your violin and play. That's what's required. Well, I might be up to 10. I'm gonna sit on the stoop and watch the traffic. And I might not ever get up again. I'm gonna sit on the stoop and watch the traffic. Might not ever get up again. It's always gonna be that way.
Oh yeah, that's man, Charlie Parr. Charlie, you've got a show coming up in Grand Rapids, right?
Apparently.
Call your agent.
I'll put it in my book. Yeah, I'm playing over there for the festival. It's whatever date he said it was.
Charlie, how many shows a year do you do?
Well, it depends. I think my heaviest year I did 282 road shows.
That's a lot of road shows. That's a lot of shows if you're in town.
I'm divorced now, Paul.
Well, if and for any guys out there that want to figure out a way to get out of the marriage, pick up a guitar and follow Charlie around.
There you go. Yeah, but it's I've tried to I get along fine with my ex-wife, and the thing about music, and I think you can probably relate to this, is it kind of becomes all consuming.
Yeah.
And those gigs, I live to perform. I want to play.
Right.
I don't even making records is fun and everything, but that's not the point.
Right.
The point is the show.
Right. Absolutely.
So.
You got 2 kids? What do you got, Charlie?
Yeah, I've got a 17-year-old and a 22-year-old. They're both in Duluth here, and they're both doing great. I just love them to death. I'm huge fans.
Well, I said for years, man, I know how tough the musician's life is, and when you got a musician as a mother or father raising healthy kids, man, you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah, it's a challenge, I know, and for a long time, my then wife was so supportive, and encouraged me to get into this. I probably, I'm a latecomer. I spent my 20s and early 30s, working as an outreach worker with a homeless outreach project, and I loved that kind of work. But it was ironically, it was having a baby that changed my trajectory because I was gigging,
Yeah, right.
I was working when I was coming down and playing.
Oh, yeah, you were working
gigs.
all the time.
And so I would gig at night and play and do my job during the day. And then when the baby came, and we realized that you can't afford daycare.
Right.
If you're just making a little bit of money, you can't do it. So.
Right.
We talked about it, and I quit my job, and I gigged more.
Yeah.
And so I was a stay-at-home dad, and then in the summer times, we would hit the road as a little family and play and just tour together, which was, probably not the best way to raise kids, but it was really an interesting thing to do.
I was talking to Ani DeFranco. She was in town playing Bayfront Park a couple years ago, and I had met her out at the tribute to Woody Guthrie in '96, and when she was just coming on board, and I went to see her a couple weeks later at the Northrop Auditorium, and it was like seeing the Beatles, right? It was just incredible. And so we hadn't seen each other since then, and she was telling me, her daughter, she had learned how to travel with her daughter. She said her daughter loves to travel on the airplane and gets it all together for her, and the daughter's the one that's organizing Ani to go on the road.
Oh, that's sweet.
So we kind of go back to that story that I started to talk about. So we're down in Ashland, which was a great show. And you know what's fun, Charlie, what I was really reminded, because I followed you over the years, and I'm, your biggest fan, and have been bragging that I said I gave you one of your first gigs at Mesa. What's the one of your first shows down in Minneapolis, playing that open stage at...
I did. I would do when I was living down there. I bussed a lot.
Yeah, but when you were when you're driving down, well, maybe you moved back up here. Yeah,
I moved up to Duluth in the '90s.
Yeah,
and I figured it was kind of over with as far as being able to gig down in the cities, and I played up here. I played at Sir Benedict's.
Yeah,
and I got a weekly gig up here, and I figured that there you go. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah,
but then going back down to play at Maslax was kind of started it all, and then I'd take anything that I could get.
Yeah,
I'd go down and play at the Viking. I'd go down and play at Ginkgo's Coffee House.
Sure, Ginkgo's,
wherever I could go. So,
well, you've done incredible. It's been so fun because, I believe Trampled by Turtles, one of their first gigs was at Springfest at Maslax back in the early, 2000s. Jeff Veritko, who you might have met, he owned the proprietor there, and then he's hosted several shows out at Moe's in Mounds View, where I've done my Blackies, Wolf and Annie, raising money for the humane shelters, and actually I just stumbled on one of those Facebook memories of Kerner playing the Wabash Cannonball at one of the folk festivals, nailing it to the wall.
I bet.
I might add. But you told a great story when we were backstage. I might have had you on my radio show, my Minneapolis radio show, about putting, was it the burritos on the engine and heating them up before the gig?
Well, it's practical, isn't it?
Yeah,
I learned it. That's a really old technique. Railroaders used to do it, but my dad did it.
Really?
It had a sheet metal box made, right, and clamped it onto the exhaust manifold of a Ford 6, the straight 6. The manifold comes out like a shelf,
right?
And it gets really, it's an inefficient engine. It gets really hot,
right?
And then, and this is probably not real savory, but would go and steal sweet corn out of people's gardens.
It happens.
And pull the floss off, leave all the husk on, throw sweet corn in that box, put water in it, it had a lid, shut the hood. 15 miles later, you're having sweet corn.
You got to put out a cookbook. You need to put out a cookbook.
And then when I started touring, I'm like, what touring is like. You never get a decent meal. If you want to, anything they have in a truck stop is probably going to give you a heart attack.
Yeah.
So what I was doing is, and venue, especially for folkies, venues are nice. They feed you. People want to feed you. I take all the food I can get, wrap up all the leftovers. I travel with Tupperware,
Yeah.
Wrap up the leftovers. The next day, you get up in the morning.
You get Charlie Parr's own line of Tupperware for on the road. I'm gonna take over your marketing here, Parr. I've got a lot of ideas.
You get up in the morning after the gig, you find yourself at wherever you wake up at, and I would travel with a package of tortillas. And whatever you had the night before, whether it's beef stew or lo mein, wrap it up in that burrito, wrap it in tin foil, and depending on the vehicle, I had a little wire harness usually works best, and you wire that burrito to the exhaust manifold.
You got to wire the burrito. I've been saying it for years.
Yep. And then you just kind of, if you know, there's a couple of variables, the weather, how hot it is outside, stuff like that. If it's, how far you're going. And if you stop for gas, you check your lunch and see how it's doing. And it depends if I have leftover pizza, that's just stupid easy because I stop and get gas. First thing I do is pop the hood and throw that pizza on the manifold. Get my gas, go inside, use the restroom, get my coffee, come back out. The pizza's hot.
Now, what about? I know you like to. You had a really cool ride down in Ashland. I remember it was really a cool color green. But you sleep in your truck a lot when you're on the road, correct?
All the time.
Yeah.
You can't afford anything.
Yeah.
And hotels are expensive. Plus, if you're gigging, you're playing till at least like 10, 11, maybe 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
You go to the hotel, and if you're out west, if you're traveling out west, you've got 6 to 10 hours of driving ahead of you.
Yeah.
There's no way that it's worth it to rent a hotel room for 5 hours worth of probably not the best sleep you've ever had.
Right.
So I usually travel in minivans or station wagons, try to get good mileage. Years and years and years ago when my son graduated to a big boy bed, he had a memory foam mattress on his junior bed.
Right.
Well, this is memory foam, dude. I'm taking this. It fits.
You're on the floor, son.
Yeah, it fits in every vehicle I've ever had. So when we upgraded him to a regular bed, I still got the old dinosaur sheets that he had on as a kid.
Oh, that's incredible.
And it's gone with me in every vehicle. And I sleep like a baby. The thing is, you have to find a place to sleep that you're not going to get the knock on the window or hassled or anything like that. And I've been pretty lucky. I've been able to figure out places that I feel safe. A lot of the times, if the venues know what you're doing, they will offer up a parking spot.
Do you ever get, when you're at one of those truck stops, a little pretty lady knocking on your door?
No. I deliberately will. You don't want to park. There's certain places in the truck stop you don't want to park.
Okay.
You don't want to do certain things with your lights when you stop. You just.
Oh, okay.
I got it.
There's a code. There's a code.
I learned the code. Not because because I talk to people. You go to the truck stop and I'm trying to use all the facilities and I'm not a truck driver, so I'm in there saying, "Hey, I want to wash my clothes."
Right.
And the truck drivers, super friendly group of folks.
Yeah.
They will almost always say, "Yeah," and they'll tell this guy's with us. He'll wash his clothes. And then they told me all about this stuff. When you come in, don't blink your lights. Don't park over there. Don't park over there. All the little weird rules of truck stops.
Paulie G, now you're a married guy, so if you're ever out there on the road, write these tips down. I don't want to see you getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Gets pulled over by some handy small town cop.
Charlie, what has been your favorite van up to this point? The best van you had?
The best van I had was actually a little tiny cargo van. It was smaller than a minivan, but it looked like a Sprinter in miniature. And it was really good.
What was it, a Toyota? Or
no, it was branded as a Dodge, but it's actually a Fiat.
Sure. Oh, cool.
And I drove the wheels off.
Yeah, I bet you did.
And I had the back all tricked out. There was no windows in the back. It was all panel, and so it was insulated. It had solar. It was just like a little tiny camper. It was a cocoon. And I like that a lot.
Those are hip these days.
I finally got it to the point where it would cost too much to fix it.
Sure.
And I ended up finding a used Toyota Sienna.
Sure.
Which is fine. It gets pretty good mileage and it sleeps pretty comfortable. It's also, since it's a mom van, it's very invisible.
Yeah.
And I like that. I don't want to attract any attention to myself. I don't want the big white cargo with the ladder racks on the top of it. I want something really quiet. And no one's going to think twice about it.
Practical at its best.
Yeah.
We've got Charlie Parr in the studio, and we'd be remiss if we didn't ask Mr. Parr to play another one. Could you play something off your new record, Little Sun? You can play whatever you want, but that's a gorgeous record, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I can. That last one, too, that was off of Little Sun. That was called 10 Watt. And then I'll play this one's also off of the record. This is called Stray. Say he's gone astray. The days find him alone, always miles from anywhere, never finding his way home. How can you say he's always dirty? Well, he's got nowhere to wash. Everyone avoids him, no matter what the cost. To his damaged ego, to his worn-out shoes, thin clothes against the cold, thin hearts against his own. Let the rope out easy, bring everyone on board. Mend the broken hearts, take on their heavy loads. Take on their heavy loads. Take on their heavy loads. Mend the broken hearts, take on their heavy loads. He hears about your religion and all about his sinful ways and all about the God who loves him. We'll punish him anyways. But he already knows a lake of fire. He swims in it every day. He's beaten down with neglect, burned with hypocrisy. How can you say there's a stray in the middle of your town? You can feel the anger in your eyes, where empathy should be found. I hear he's lost his family, or they let him wander away. Can anyone speak on his behalf? Well, someone's rigged the game. Let the rope out easy, bring everyone on board. Mend the broken hearts and take on their heavy loads. And take on their heavy loads. And take on their heavy loads. Mend the broken hearts. Take on their heavy loads.
Very nice, Charlie Parr.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate
on
that.
Spider John Kerner's old 12-string. Doesn't get any cooler than that. So, tell us about, you've been to Europe several times, correct?
13.
13 times?
Yeah, I'll go back in September and October this year. That'll be my 14th trip over.
Wow.
So.
You drive by yourself over there?
That depends. This time I'm going to. The last time I actually did not, and the time before that, I did public transportation, which was really, it was great. It was really challenging, and it stressed me out a lot. So this time, I'm actually going to borrow a van from a buddy of mine in Holland, and I'm just going to drive. Mikkel Beckman is coming with me, so he and I are going to do that together.
We did that fun book show. You both had books out last fall in St. Paul. Yeah, that guy gets around, man. Isn't he? He's doing some kind of hiking some trail now in Spain or something.
Scotland. He's just finishing up. He made it across the moors, and he's heading for home in a couple days.
Well, give him my absolute best. Charlie Parr, I had my radio show down in Minneapolis about a year ago. I was talking to the band Story Hill. I don't know if you bumped into those gentlemen or not. They've been around for 30 years. And they came from Bozeman, came to Minneapolis by way, I think, Carleton College or St. Olaf. Got their thing going in Minneapolis. Then now both live back in Bozeman. But they were saying between Charlie Parr, our good buddy Al Sparhawk from Low, and Travel by Trails, Duluth is like a thing now. Have you found that out? I mean, people, it's like, I've always, I'm from the Iron Range. I've always loved Duluth. But I have to give you and Al and the Turtles great credit for spreading the word. Let's not get it so famous because we've got enough people already.
Yeah, that's the truth.
But what did you love about your years in Duluth and coming and visiting your family up here?
Well, when I came up here, the music scene up here was in full swing. And one of the first people I met when I got to town was Al Sparhawk, and just how much kindness and support he showed me and introduced me to folks, and everybody was supportive and kind. And we'd have, it's not a big town, it's not a huge place, so we would have, they'd invite me to come do shows, right? And it'd be me and maybe the Black Eyed Snakes, maybe the Dames, If Thousands, ambient music, Mary Bew, just the Crew Jones, it would be such a weird mix of music throughout the evening, and everyone loved everything that was happening. And we all loved each other. We all felt supported and happy to be together. It was the best kind of like erasure of genre that I've ever experienced in my life, because too many times shows are programmed to be, we're just going to do fingerstyle guitar players for the next 4 hours. But those shows, everyone was invested and really, really interested the whole evening, because every time you turned around, something different was happening. And I loved that. And that's, I love that. Duluth still feels that way to me. It still feels like we're going to support all this stuff because we're just not big enough to ignore anything.
I'm Chris Allen, the producer for Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa. Thank you for listening to our greatest performances. Join us again next week at 10 a.m. right here on 610 KDAL.
When I was a buckshot in short pants, spinning bottles with Tiger Jack. I remember Grandpa's European prayers in the bunkhouse. To these days I used to spread to try to bring him back. Hand in hand with my brother and sisters, Chinese jump rope heart to heart. They ain't hiding, but they're just out of earshot. Up to the heavens that worlds don't fall apart. And I wish I could see stars over the prairie, stars over the prairie tonight. And I wish I could see stars over the prairie, stars over the prairie tonight. Under the gazebo where I stole my first kisses, in the fallen age of Cadillac with chrome. Well, me and my buddy like a good gypsy army, fighting each other's causes like they were our own. In the grease trap alley where I cut sucker punches, in the shadow of my old man. Before I blacked out, I wonder how Duke would have done it. before I found out I split off with the band. And I wish I could see stars over the prairie, stars over the prairie tonight. And I wish I could see stars over the prairie, stars over the prairie tonight.